Hello everybody. Today I thought I would take you through this 3D rather special Valentine card that I think could bring joy to somebody special in your life, and I'll show you the basic principles of what I did, and then you can have a look in your supply of dies to see what you could make, because this is open to endless possibilities. So with this I'm just using a few dies from my stash, and the way I did that was I started with this rather nice backdrop piece, which is actually a gatefold invitation die that's unbranded. You could use a square, rectangle, heart shape, anything you like to back your card, but this is what I've chosen. So it's quite an easy die to use, and as you can see it's got a nice pattern on it, and it's got striations up where you're supposed to fold, but I'm going to ignore that and keep it completely flat. So that is the back piece, and I am going to be adding to that with a little decoration in the middle, and to do that I've cut out in gold mirror card this rather lovely filigree circle which has got a heart shape in the middle, and I'm going to be sticking that in place just to form the backdrop, and that's made from a cut and make die that I've had in my stash for probably about 3 years now. It's still available to the best of my knowledge. So after that, the next thing that I'm going to be doing, putting that on one side for later, is to actually cut out the 3D hearts. And I've got a set of X-cut nested dies. Having had a couple of weddings in the family, I'm well supplied with heart dies, and I'm going to be taking 2 of those dies for this project, and the 2 largest ones. As I say, you could use that largest Valentine, that largest heart die as a backdrop. Now, as always, I play with partial die cutting, and I'm just showing you on this piece of card, which is set up for my Gemini machine. If you use something like a Sizzix Big Shot, just cut it down to size. But this project will work on any machine that you care to be using. Now, I want to have a stand for my heart, and so I've got this outer ring from a snow globe that I've got. I bought it unbranded from the works, and I'm going to position the base up to the heart like that, and then I'm going to die cut down the heart until I reach the point where it's going to meet. And the way I do that is when I set my heart up on the card, I measure where that die comes up to from the base of the card, and because when you set it up and put your card stacks on, it's difficult to know where, but this diagram shows you on this particular piece of card how I place card stacks on that heart, build it up, run it through my machine, and I get this shape on the right hand side. And so it doesn't matter what size card you're using, just measure it. It's the position in relation to your stand. And you could use the bottom, an inverted heart, you could use a square, rectangle, anything that you've got in your stash. So this is now the next stage where I position the snow globe die up to the cutout heart, and then put the card stacks over the top at the bottom. So once again, the only thing that's going to cut out is where those cards actually are positioned. So I stack them up, put the top plate over, and then run them through, in this case my Gemini, but you could do it in any machine, and the number of cards depends on your cards and your machine. So this is the net result on the left hand side of what I get, which is a heart shape with a stand. And then what I want to do is cut out an inner heart, and so I take the next size down from my heart stash, and here I've got the mock-up on the right which is showing all of the dies that I'm using, but I will position the inner one and then just run it through on this left hand die in a normal manner through my machine. And the net result is I get what I want, which is a heart on a little stand with a cutout centre. And as you can see, I've cut out some little hearts. You could decorate it how you like, but I've got this rather pretty inset heart die that's unbranded. I bought on Amazon last year, and I'm just partially die cutting again, just little bits of it, just to get the decorative effect that I want. You can use what you like. Now I cut out 4 of these, and I've got to stick each one to each other in the middle. So I've scored all of them centrally, and so they fold up really quite nicely. And then the other thing that I am doing is I want to dangle some hearts in the middle. So I've got a tiny little, I think it's a Tattered Lace mini die that I've had for 2 or 3 years as well. And I'm cutting out in red mirror card 4 hearts. And then I want to double them up, and obviously I want to turn them round so they match. So I'm cutting out again with the mirror card, but on the reverse side, so I get matching hearts. So I cut out 4 of them, and then I'll stick the 2 white sides together, which means that I will have 2 red sides to dangle. So that's a double height card. You don't even have to put any decoration in the middle. It's entirely your choice. I've got a little bit of gold thread, and what I'm going to be doing is on each one I'm going to stick the gold thread between the 2 layers, and so I've got something to dangle from. And I'm using PVA glue for this. I find PVA glue is really quite good for the tiny bits, and so I'm sticking my gold thread in place and then positioning the top red mirror right side facing out on top of it, and then I'm going to press it and leave it to dry, and I've got 4 of those to do. I've also got to do the same with my hearts on those folded edges, and this time I'm using all-purpose glue because I think it gives a good quick bond, which is what I'm looking for, although I will leave them for about half an hour to dry. And I stick each one in turn, allowing time for each one to dry so that glue doesn't spread out and stick bits that I don't want it to. But I gradually build up that foursome so that all of them are just stuck and hinged in the middle. So once I've done that, this is what I get, and I think it's really quite pretty. You could, of course, carry on round and you could make a complete heart without a backing, but that's not what I plan to do today. Before I go any further and stick that on the back of the card, I actually want to position my little hearts in the middle, and I'm choosing, I've got the 2 central folds which I'm not hanging on, but I'm doing it on the hearts 2 and 3. I've also cut out a little sentiment, this love sentiment, also in the mirror card, because I'm going to use it a little bit like a paper clip, and I'm bringing the 2 middle ones together, and by slotting that over it pulls them in, and I think it makes it particularly dimensional. You could use anything you like. You could use a square, a little circle, anything, a flower, and just put a slit in it. So now I'm just going to stick my little hearts in place, and I've used double-sided tape, but I'm not removing the top wax paper, but it's quite light and it's quite firm, and I'm sticking them in position on the back of hearts 2 and 3 in the stack, and at this point I'm leaving the gold threads long. I will trim them later. So just build up one at a time. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's quite fun to do. I just measure out my thread to the height that I want, which in this case I did the front ones at 1.5 centimetres and the ones on heart 3 at 2.5 centimetres, or 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch. Just position them where you want so that they'll dangle freely, and once you've finished, then trim off all those long gold threads down to the level you want. Now what I'm doing finally is I have stuck the gold filigree circle on the back of my back piece, and I've also added an extra heart that I've stuck in the middle, and then I'm ready to position my 3D heart on the front. And again I am going to be sticking it in the middle where the hinge is, and not anywhere else, because I want it to fold nicely. So I'm going to be using all-purpose glue once again, and position your heart carefully at the bottom so that it'll stand on its own when you stand the card vertically. That's quite important because you don't want it falling over. This is what it looks like when it's stuck, and you take that love paper clip off, and then you can fold those hearts totally flat for postage, which is very useful. So I'm just showing you that you can do that. And as I say, you could have a little flower, you could have another little heart, you could do anything you like, or just keep it as it's shown here, any way that you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing how to create this particular 3D Valentine card and feel inspired to go away and make your own for that special day.